The spiritual gurus have completely lied to you. They have kept the ultimate million-dollar secret of reality creation hidden behind vague concepts like letting go and trusting the universe. Today, as a teacher of the uncompromising laws of Neville Goddard, I am going to reveal the exact mechanical difference that separates the billionaires from the spiritual beggars. I am going to brutally expose the catastrophic difference between thinking of your desire and thinking from your desire. This single psychological shift is the million-dollar secret that will instantly end your financial struggle forever. If you are finally ready to stop looking at your wealth from the outside, and if you want to master the exact cognitive posture that forces the quantum field to materialize massive sums of money into your bank account, take a brief moment to subscribe to this channel right now. The era of desperately thinking about your money ends today, and your era of arrogantly thinking from your wealth begins right in this exact microsecond. Let us perform a brutal psychological autopsy on the mainstream spiritual concept of detachment. You have been heavily brainwashed by the law of attraction community to treat the universe like a magical cosmic restaurant. They tell you to place your financial order with the waiter and then completely forget about the food until it magically arrives at your physical table. They call this process letting go. They tell you that if you think about your desire too much, you are creating energetic resistance and therefore you will push the money far away from you. Do you realize how much unnecessary, agonizing guilt this specific teaching has caused you in your daily life? You spend an hour visualizing your massive wealth, you feel incredible, and then you try to go about your normal day. But because you are a human being living in a physical world, you inevitably see a luxury car, or you see an expensive house, and you naturally think about the millions of dollars you want to manifest. The exact second you remember your desire, absolute panic sets in. Your heart starts racing. You tell yourself that you thought about the money again, that you did not let it go correctly, that you just ruined your entire manifestation, and that you need to go distract yourself immediately. You have turned your own mind into a terrifying minefield, where you are constantly punishing yourself simply for remembering the spectacular life you actually want to live. You are exhausting your psychological energy, trying to actively suppress your own natural thoughts. Neville Goddard never ever told you to forget your desire. He never instructed you to experience forced spiritual amnesia. If you deeply study the actual mechanical laws of assumption, you will realize that trying to forget your desire is the most dangerous thing you could possibly do to your financial reality. The quantum field is a flawless, blind mirror that constantly reflects the specific state of consciousness you are currently occupying. If you perform a visualization technique for 20 minutes, and then you force yourself to let go and forget about your wealth for the remaining 23 hours of the day, what state are you actually occupying during that massive gap of time? When you drop the state of wealth to go distract yourself, your brain automatically defaults back to its most familiar, deeply wired physical identity. And for most people, that default physical identity is poverty, stress, counting pennies, and daily survival. By trying to let go of the wealth, you are accidentally dropping the new identity and putting the old, broke identity right back onto your body. You are literally taking off the heavy gold crown of the monarch and putting the dirty rags of the beggar back over your shoulders. You absolutely cannot manifest a permanent physical reality from a temporary 20-minute visit to a state of wealth. Manifestation requires permanent, uncompromising occupancy. You do not just visit the end of your desire. You move into the end, you lock the door behind you, and you permanently unpack your bags. This brings us to the most profound, misunderstood, and wildly powerful distinction in the entire philosophy of Neville Goddard. This is the absolute million-dollar secret. We must brutally separate the concept of thinking of your desire and thinking from your desire. This is the exact mechanical failure where the fake spiritual gurus completely destroy your progress. When the mainstream manifestation community tells you that thinking about your money pushes it away, they are actually only half right. They are specifically referring to thinking of your desire. When you think of your millions of dollars, you are looking at the wealth as an object that is completely separate from you. You are looking at the massive luxury mansion from the outside, standing on the dirty street, staring through the iron gates, and desperately wishing you could go inside. When you think of the money, you are actively acknowledging its physical absence. You are generating the agonizing, pathetic emotion of yearning, longing, and desperate hope. And because the universe perfectly mirrors your dominant state, thinking of your desire mathematically guarantees that the desire will remain permanently outside of your grasp. You will remain the sad person standing on the street, looking at the mansion, forever. This specific type of separated thinking is exactly what the law of attraction coaches are trying to stop when they tell you to let go. But their solution is entirely wrong. You do not fix the problem of separation by forcing yourself to forget that the mansion exists. You fix the problem of separation by boldly walking through the front door and claiming the property as your own. You must violently transition your consciousness from the pathetic state of thinking of your wealth to the supreme arrogant state of thinking from your wealth. Thinking from the end means you completely assume the exact psychological posture of the person who already possesses the millions of dollars. You are no longer looking at the mansion from the street. You are sitting on the expensive leather sofa inside the master bedroom, looking out the window at the physical world. When you are truly thinking from the end, you do not need to let go of the desire, because the desire literally no longer exists in your mind. Dire desire is, by definition, something you do not currently have. The exact microsecond you assume absolute ownership of the millions of dollars in your imagination, the desire instantly dies, and it is entirely replaced by the cold, boring, unemotional fact of possession. You cannot desire what you already own. You do not desire the shoes you are currently wearing on your feet. You do not desire the oxygen you are currently breathing into your lungs. You simply use them. You experience them. The true master of the law of assumption does not try to forget their massive wealth. The master thinks about their wealth all day long, but they think about it from the unbothered perspective of the absolute owner. I want you to closely examine the daily behavior of an actual physical multimillionaire. Does a billionaire wake up in the morning, look at their massive investment portfolio, and then desperately try to forget that they have money so they do not accidentally lose it? Do they spend their entire day actively trying to distract themselves from their wealth just to prove to the universe that they are detached? Of course not. That is absolute comical insanity. The billionaire is acutely, constantly, and deeply aware of their massive financial empire. They think about their money all the time. They plan with it, they invest it, they spend it, and they thoroughly enjoy it. But their thoughts are completely devoid of panic, yearning, or desperation. Their thoughts are grounded in the absolute solid concrete of ownership. They are resting comfortably in the state of having. This is exactly what living in the end actually looks like in practice. Living in the end is not a state of forced amnesia or spiritual distraction. It is a state of constant, unbothered, arrogant awareness. You walk through your day carrying the heavy, invisible weight of your millions of dollars in your pocket. You do not try to ignore the money. You wear the money as your primary identity. You let the feeling of absolute financial security completely saturate every single cell in your physical body until it becomes your absolute new normal. We must now address the absolute absurdity of trying to detach from your own identity. I want you to deeply analyze the concept of living in the end through the lens of your basic human existence. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and deciding that you need to let go of your own name so that the universe can confirm who you are. Imagine deciding to completely detach from the fact that you have brown eyes, or trying to forcefully forget your gender, simply because a spiritual guru told you that holding on to your identity creates resistance. The entire concept is completely insane. You do not wake up and try to let go of the fact that you are married to your spouse. You do not try to forget where you live. You simply rest in the absolute, unquestionable certainty of your current physical reality. You occupy your identity with a boring, effortless, automatic confidence. Living in the end is exactly the same psychological mechanism. It is a permanent state of undeniable occupancy. When you assume the identity of a multimillionaire, you are not performing a temporary magic trick. You are putting on a new, permanent skin. You cannot let go of the wealth because the wealth is no longer an external object that you are holding in your hands. The wealth has become the very bone and blood of your internal consciousness. You cannot detach from the millions of dollars without violently detaching from your own self, because you and the millions of dollars have merged into one single, indivisible entity. You are probably asking yourself a very logical question right now. If I am not supposed to let go of the money, And if I am supposed to think about my massive wealth all day long from the perspective of the owner, then what exactly was Neville Goddard telling me to let go of? Neville Goddard was incredibly specific about the art of surrender, but the manifestation community completely distorted his words. You do not let go of the desire itself, because the desire has already transformed into a present fact. What you must completely, violently, and permanently let go of is the old dead state of poverty. You must let go of the frantic, desperate, terrified beggar that you used to be. You must completely detach from the exhausting, agonizing need to know exactly how the universe is going to deliver the money to your bank account. You release the anxiety, you release the timeline, and you absolutely release the toxic illusion that the three-dimensional world has any power over you. You drop the heavy, suffocating coat of your old limitations, and you leave it entirely behind you. You do not forget your new kingdom. You simply forget the old prison cell that used to hold you captive. You must turn your back on the dead shadow of your past and refuse to ever look at it again. But we must expose the dark biological truth behind why you love the concept of letting go so much. We must talk about why you constantly run away from the state of wealth and try to distract yourself with television, social media, or busy work. You do not let go because you are a spiritually advanced, perfectly detached master. You let go because your physical body is in a state of absolute, terrifying biological panic. When you close your eyes and truly try to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you try to occupy the massive reality of possessing tens of millions of dollars, your physical nervous system experiences a massive shock. Your primitive animal brain is deeply physically addicted to the familiar survival chemistry of poverty, stress, and lack. It knows how to be broke. It feels safe in the familiar misery of the struggle. When you introduce the massive, expansive, relaxed energy of infinite wealth into your mind, your nervous system perceives this new identity as a terrifying, unknown threat. Your amygdala instantly sounds the survival alarm. Your chest gets tight, your heart rate spikes, your breathing becomes shallow, and you feel a sudden, overwhelming wave of physical anxiety. You literally feel like you are doing something wrong. And so, following the advice of the fake gurus, you immediately drop the state of wealth. You tell yourself that you are letting go and detaching, but in reality, you are just cowardly running away from your own biological discomfort. You are dropping the manifestation because your physical body cannot handle the frequency of the millions. You will never be able to permanently occupy the state of the wish fulfilled if your physical body is actively fighting a war against your imagination. You cannot forcefully live in the end while your physical heart is pounding with the terror of poverty. Your nervous system will always win the battle against your conscious mind. To permanently destroy this barrier, you must bypass your psychological resistance and manually shut down the biological fire alarm inside your body. Because this physiological panic is the exact reason why 99% of people fail to live in the end, I refuse to let you fight this invisible biological war alone. I have provided a vital, mechanical solution for you. I want you to pause and look directly below this video in the pinned comment section. I have left a highly specific, life-saving physical protocol there for you. It is entirely designed to override your primitive brain, perfectly regulate your dysregulated nervous system, and instantly flush the terrifying survival hormones out of your physical bloodstream. It ignores your complicated thoughts and goes straight to the biological hardware, completely deactivating the panic response. Go to the pinned comment and use this protocol to force your physical cells into a state of absolute safety. When your nervous system is finally calm, the physical anxiety of holding your new wealthy identity will completely evaporate. You will finally be able to sit on the throne of your imagination without your own body trying to drag you back down into the dirt. Once your physical body is regulated and you are no longer running away from the state of wealth in a panic, you must understand the catastrophic quantum physics of the empty vacuum. The spiritual community tells you to visualize your wealth and then completely drop it and go about your day. They tell you to create a vacuum in your mind so the universe can fill it. This is a fatal misunderstanding of how the quantum field operates. The law of assumption dictates that your reality is a continuous, unbroken mirror of your dominant state. The universe abhors a vacuum. Your consciousness can never truly be empty. You are always, in every single microsecond of your existence, occupying a state, If you consciously build the spectacular state of the multimillionaire for 20 minutes in your imagination, and then you intentionally drop that state to go wash the dishes and forget about your manifestation, your subconscious mind does not remain empty. It instantly, violently snaps back to its default baseline. And because you have spent years practicing the feeling of lack, your default baseline is absolute poverty. The exact second you let go of the wealth, the old dead state of the broke, anxious victim rushes back in to fill the vacuum. You completely overwrite the new code with the old virus. This is exactly why your massive wealth never materializes in the three-dimensional world. You are constantly building a beautiful mansion in your mind, and then you are immediately throwing a bomb inside of it by returning to your old identity for the rest of the day. You are playing a pathetic game of quantum tug-of-war with the universe. You pull the money toward you with your technique, and then you violently push it away by abandoning the state and returning to the frequency of lack. Neville Goddard was relentlessly clear that the manifestation only hardens into physical fact when the new state becomes your permanent, unshakable dwelling place. You cannot be a wealthy owner for an hour and a terrified slave for the rest of the week. You must saturate your mind with the new identity until the old identity completely starves to death from a lack of attention. You must reach a point where returning to the old state of poverty feels unnatural, uncomfortable, and physically disgusting to you. You must refuse to leave the state of the wish fulfilled, no matter what the delayed physical mirror shows you. You must defend your new occupied territory with the ruthless, unapologetic aggression of a monarch who refuses to surrender their crown to the shadows of the past. We must now explore the ultimate psychological posture of the master, the profound state of being that I call the absolute arrogance of ownership. You have been taught by the fake spiritual community to treat your physical reality like a terrifying monster that you must constantly hide from. They tell you that if you look at your empty bank account, you are going to accidentally manifest more poverty, so you must close your eyes, meditate, completely detach from your physical circumstances, and try to live in a delusional fantasy world where bills do not exist. This cowardly behavior is the exact opposite of living in the end. The true master of the law of assumption does not run away from the three-dimensional world. The master does not close their eyes in terror when an unexpected bill arrives in the mail. The master does not perform a 20-minute visualization technique and then spend the rest of the day desperately trying to forget that they need money to survive. The master stands completely still, opens their eyes wide, looks directly into the cold, dead mirror of the physical reality, and refuses to flinch. The master looks at the empty bank account, sees the negative numbers on the screen, and responds with a cold, devastating, and absolute apathy. You do not need to detach from the physical world if you truly understand that the physical world is already dead. You do not run away from a shadow on the wall. You simply understand that the shadow has absolutely no power to dictate your internal state of consciousness. When you are truly living in the end, you look at the temporary lack of money in your physical life with the exact same unbothered amusement that a multi-billionaire would feel if they accidentally dropped a single penny on the sidewalk. It simply does not matter. It does not threaten your empire. It does not shake your throne. Your wealth is secured in the unbreakable vault of your imagination, and the physical world is just a slow, clumsy machine trying to catch up to your command. You must violently destroy the toxic concept of spiritual detachment that has been poisoning your mind for years. The manifestation coaches have convinced you that if you want something too much, if you have a burning, intense desire for millions of dollars, you are creating massive energetic resistance and pushing the money away. They tell you that you must pretend you do not care. They tell you to act like you are completely indifferent to whether the money comes or not. This is an absolute catastrophic lie. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology and quantum physics. You do not push your wealth away by caring about it. You push your wealth away by caring about its absence. There is a massive, universe-altering difference between the two. Let me give you a profound example. If you own a spectacular multi-million-dollar mansion, you absolutely care about that mansion. You love the architecture, you enjoy the expensive furniture, you hire people to clean it, and you deeply appreciate the security it provides. You care about it immensely, but you do not yearn for it. You do not sit on the street outside the mansion crying and hoping that one day the universe will let you inside. Your intense appreciation for the house is completely consumed by the undeniable fire of your ownership. The desire to have the house has been entirely replaced by the satisfaction of using the house. You can have the most intense, burning obsession with wealth in the entire world, and it will not create a single drop of resistance as long as that obsession is grounded in the present tense reality that the wealth already belongs to you. You do not need to pretend you do not want the money. You simply need to stop wanting it and start owning it. Wanting implies a future where you might get it. Owning implies a present where you already have it. The entire illusion of letting go was invented by people who are terrified of their own desires. They are so deeply afraid of the pain of disappointment. They are so terrified that the universe might say no to them, that they try to protect their own ego by pretending they do not actually want the manifestation. They say, "I'm just going to put my desire out there, and if it is meant to be, it will happen, and if it is not meant to be, I am letting it go." This is the pathetic, weak language of the eternal victim. This is the language of a person who has completely surrendered their divine authority to an imaginary external power. The operant power of the universe does not say, "if it is meant to be." The operant power says, "It is meant to be because I command it to be." You do not negotiate with the quantum field. You do not offer your millions of dollars up to the universe and ask for its permission. You are the universe. You are the sole architect of your reality. When you assume the state of the multimillionaire, you are issuing an absolute, irrevocable royal decree. You do not let go of a royal decree. You do not sign a law into existence and then throw the paper in the trash and hope the citizens obey it. You sign the law, you hold the paper in your hand, you stamp it with your absolute authority, and you expect flawless, uncompromising obedience from the three-dimensional world. You demand that the mirror reflects your new identity. You do not let go of the command. You simply let go of the exhausting, pathetic doubt that the command will be obeyed. We must deeply explore the daily, practical reality of what it actually feels like to permanently occupy the state of the wish fulfilled. How do you walk through a grocery store when you are living in the end of massive wealth, but your physical wallet is currently empty? The beginner tries to use the grocery store as a test. The beginner walks down the aisle, looks at the expensive organic food, feels a sharp pain of poverty in their chest, and then quickly tries to repeat an affirmation to force themselves to feel rich. The beginner is fighting a violent war against the physical prices on the shelves. The beginner is trying to forcibly overwrite their physical reality with a mental sledgehammer. But the master behaves entirely differently. The master walks down the exact same grocery store aisle, looks at the exact same expensive food, and feels absolutely nothing. The master feels a profound, heavy, beautiful neutrality. The master knows that the physical body walking through the store is just a temporary avatar experiencing a delayed echo of the past. The master's true consciousness is resting comfortably on a yacht in the Mediterranean. When the master looks at the price tag, they do not panic, and they do not try to forcibly affirm their wealth. They simply look at the price tag from the psychological perspective of a billionaire who is temporarily playing a game of being poor. The billionaire playing the game knows the money is safe in the bank. They are not threatened by the game. They do not need to let go of the game because they know the game is an illusion. You must adopt this exact same arrogant, untouchable perspective. You are a multimillionaire temporarily experiencing a delayed physical echo of scarcity. You do not need to fight the echo. You do not need to let go of the echo. You simply need to outlast it with your stubborn, unbreakable assumption. This brings us to the ultimate destination of the manifestation journey. It brings us to the profound silent state of the Sabbath. When Neville Goddard spoke about the Sabbath, he was not talking about a religious holiday, and he was certainly not talking about the concept of letting go. The Sabbath is the absolute end of the psychological struggle. It is the moment when the seed of your desire has been successfully planted, fertilized, and fully accepted by your subconscious mind. In the Sabbath, you do not let go of your desire. You actually become completely one with your desire. The millions of dollars are no longer a separate thought that you have to consciously conjure up in your mind. The wealth becomes the invisible background noise of your entire existence. Imagine the feeling of wearing a perfectly fitted, extremely comfortable pair of shoes. When you first put them on, you notice them. You feel the leather, you feel the soles, and you are consciously aware that you are wearing new shoes. But after walking in them for a few hours, your brain completely adapts. You stop consciously thinking about the shoes. You do not let go of the shoes. You do not take them off and throw them away. You simply assimilate them into your physical experience. You are still wearing them. You are still benefiting from them, but they no longer require your conscious attention. This is exactly what the Sabbath feels like regarding your millions of dollars. You have worn the identity of the wealthy owner for so long in your imagination that it has become your permanent psychological skin. You do not need to constantly affirm your wealth because you simply are the wealth. You do not need to forcefully remember your money, and you certainly do not need to forcefully forget it. You just carry it with you everywhere you go, silently, arrogantly, and effortlessly. When you truly achieve this level of permanent occupancy, the three-dimensional world will begin to crack, bend, and violently rearrange itself to match your internal frequency. The universe will not respond to your temporary 20-minute visualization sessions if you spend the rest of the day in a state of panic. But the universe has absolutely no choice but to instantly obey the permanent, unshakable state of the Sabbath. When you stop pulling the seed out of the dirt every 5 minutes to see if it is growing, and when you finally stop trying to abandon the seed by letting it go, the roots of your massive wealth will silently spread through the quantum field. You will suddenly find yourself receiving unexpected phone calls, massive business opportunities, and undeniable financial windfalls. The money will hunt you down. It will chase you. It will flood into your bank accounts with such aggressive speed and terrifying volume that you will look back at your days of trying to let go, and you will laugh at your own ignorance. You will realize that the money was always there, waiting just outside your door, but it could not enter your house because you kept abandoning the property. You kept leaving the state of wealth empty. But now, you are home. You are permanently occupying the mansion of your own mind. You have locked the doors. You have turned on the lights. And the universe finally recognizes that the owner has returned to claim their kingdom. You have reached the absolute climax of this masterclass. I want you to take a deep, slow breath, and I want you to feel the massive, exhausting chains of the spiritual community completely falling off your mind. You are officially free from the agonizing torture of trying to forget your own desires. You never have to experience the guilt of thinking about your money again. You never have to try and forcibly distract yourself from the spectacular life that you are building in your imagination. You are not a spiritual amnesiac. You are a divine creator. You are the operant power of your entire reality. The millions of dollars you want are not a separate entity that you need to release into the cosmos. The millions of dollars are a fundamental, undeniable, intrinsic part of your own consciousness. You cannot let go of your wealth any more than you can let go of your own heartbeat. It is who you are. The days of acting like a terrified beggar who is afraid to look at their own desires are completely over. The days of performing techniques and then running away in panic are finished. You have stepped into the cold, boring, and magnificent arrogance of the permanent owner. If you have listened to this entire masterclass, your psychological hard drive has been completely and permanently reformatted. You can never unhear this truth. You can never go back to being the confused, guilty student who tries to let go of their manifestation. You know exactly what it means to think from the end, and you know the absolute supremacy of permanent occupancy. But to permanently seal this new paradigm, to lock this arrogant, unbothered identity into the physical matrix of your three-dimensional reality, and to prove to the quantum field that you have officially stopped running away from your wealth, you must take one final definitive action. You must leave a physical signature on the fabric of the universe that proves you have entirely abandoned the toxic illusion of letting go. I want you to step fully into the quiet, motionless power of the monarch. I want you to scroll down to the comments section directly below this video. I want you to type these exact words with the cold, mechanical certainty of a ruler who is stating an absolute, unbreakable law of their kingdom. Do not type it with desperation. Do not type it as a hopeful wish for the future. Type it as the undeniable, boring fact of your permanent existence. Type, I no longer think of wealth. I think from wealth. Let the physical movement of your fingers typing those words be the final absolute proof that you have stopped looking at your millions from the outside, and you have finally stepped inside the mansion of your own mind. Make the declaration right now. I no longer think of wealth, I think from wealth. The era of separation is over. The state of absolute occupancy is permanent. Go sit on the throne that is already yours.